Hello everyone, I hope all are doing well. In our previous video, we had discussed class 10th first flight book Poetry 1 Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. What we had discussed in our poetry? We had discussed that the setting of the poem is in wintry day. As it is a winter time, there is snow all over. And when the poem begins, the poet is in upset mood. And he is upset and he goes and sits under the hemlock tree, which is completely covered with these fine snow particles, with this fine snow. The reason has not been told that why the poet is upset. He is upset and he sits under the hemlock tree. And when he sits there, he is upset. Suddenly there is a shaking in the tree, and this shaking is because of the crow. Crow who shakes itself, and because of his shaking, the tree gets shaken and the fine particles of the snow fall on the poet. And these falling of the fine particles change his mood. And his remaining day gets saved because his mind gets diverted from his past mood. Now he moves away from there and he saves his day. Or we can say that these two things, tree and crow, which are considered as bad symbol, save his remaining day. Now let's discuss the question answer of this poetry. Now the first question, thinking about the poem. First question is, what is dust of snow? What does the poet say has changed his mood? The dust of snow. The dust of snow is fine particles of dust which fell on the poet. Here, the poet has used the word dust because these snow particles are so small that the poet has considered it as dust. So, dust of snow is a fine particles of snow which can be felt in the air. Right? Here we have question like, what does the poet say has changed his mood? These fine particles which were there on the hemlock tree, when these particles fall on the poet, then these fine particles change his mood. There comes a question, how has the poet's mood changed? The poet's mood has changed when the crow shakes the tree. The shaking of the tree, and because of shaking, the falling of the snow on the poet changes his mood. I hope this is clear to you people. Now let's discuss another question, which is, so how does Frost present nature in this poem? Frost has presented the nature in its raw form or in its natural form. As he has told that there is snow everywhere. The snow has amazed all over the tree. It has covered the tree. Everywhere snow can be seen. it has used the poet has used the natural sights, a wintry day, snow, tree, crow, all these things. The poet has used a different aspects, different natural sights of nature. So we have another question, that what are the birds that are usually named in poems? As we have read in our previous class too, the nightingale bird, the cuckoo bird, right? These kind of birds, swallow bird, these kind of birds are used because of their melodious sound or because of their endeavor. Most of the time, poets used such kind of birds. But here, do you think a crow is often mentioned in the poems? No, I don't think so that the crow is mentioned in the poems by the poets, because whenever we think of crow, we get to know that it is a bad symbol, or we consider it as a bad symbol. So it only in this poetry, or rarely, this bird crow is used in the poetry. Most of the time the birds like cuckoo, this nightingale birds are used. We have question, what images come to your mind when you think of a crow? When we think of crow, a picture of bad omen comes to our mind. We think of sorrow, we think of unhappiness whenever we think of crow. Next we have question, what is a hemlock tree? Why does not the poet write about a more beautiful tree such as maple, oak, or a pine? See, this hemlock tree is a poisonous tree, right? It has very small white flowers in it. The poet does not use these maple, oak, or a pine kind of tree. And this hemlock tree, it is a symbol of sorrow. It is a symbol of bad omen. But when the dust of snow falls from this hemlock tree, it removes all the sadness of the poet's mind and brings a positivity. Next question. What do the crow and the hemlock represent, joy or sorrow? As we have already discussed a number of times, many times, that these two things represent sorrow, a bad omen, a bad sign, unhappiness, pain, sadness, right? So, what does the dust of snow that the crow shakes off on a hemlock tree stands for? This dust of snow symbolizes a positivity. It becomes a reason for the poet to turn his mind towards positivity. Though these two symbols are not auspicious, still, this dust of snow, which falls because of crow from the hemlock tree, brings a sudden change in poet's mood and becomes a reason for cheerfulness, becomes a reason of cheerfulness for the poet. This cheerfulness replaces the poet's sorrow into happiness, right? I hope this is clear to you. Next question. Have there been times when you felt depressed or hopeless? Have you experienced a similar moment that changed your mood that day? Of course, it can be there in everybody's life. There can be a moment when we must have felt upset, when we must have felt sorrow, pain, there may be situation when we were upset, right? So you have to write your own experience in this answer, in this question's answer. So I'm just leaving this question for you people to write about your experience. And I hope all these points of the poetry as well as the questions are clear to you people. Now let's talk about your homework section. You have to write all the answers of these questions, and the most important thing, that the last question you have to do on your own. And I hope that you must have completed your previous task too, which I had given you in my previous video. I had given you the task of writing the rhyme scheme of the poetry. Then I had given you the task of just writing about the alliteration portion where it has been used. Then I had asked you to write about assonance and the sum up of the story, this poetry, right? Now I would like to end my video with wishing you good luck for your good health, and do your task. Bye.